إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا نحن نزلنا الذكر وإنا له لحافظون فلا وربك لا يؤمنون حتى يحكموك فيما شجر بينهم ثم لا يجدوا في أنفسهم حرجا مما قضيت وسلموا تسليما. All the praises are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has created us and blessed us with Islam. May peace, mercy and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be on the greatest of creation, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who has devoted his whole life to bring the guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he has showed through his whole life. I might actually talk through, not this one because it's probably for it. Today's lecture and presentation, can you see it clearly or? Yeah. Okay. It will be on Usool al hadeeth, as I mentioned before. Now, this basically means the science and terminology, science and methodology of hadith. That's how we actually put it up. Now, is everyone from Bangladesh here? Or? Anyway, I'll probably continue in English. এই যে সাবজেক্ট উসুল আল হাদিস, এটা আমরা কিছু কনটেক্সটে যাওয়ার চেষ্টা করব। সেটা হচ্ছে হাদিসের এই মিনিংগুলো কি, সুন্নাহর মিনিংগুলো কি, এর হিস্ট্রিটা কি, কম্পাইলেশনের রিজনগুলো কি, এবং কোন বেসিসে হাদিস সহিহ কি যায়িফ এটা ডিটারমিন করা হয়। কিছু টার্মিনোলজি আলোচনা করব, মুস্তালাহ আল হাদিস, যেমন সহিহ, যায়িফ, মুআল্লাক, মুআদাল, এই টার্মিনোলজিগুলো যেটা আমাদের জন্য বুঝতে সুবিধা করবে। Firstly, we'll see how Usool al hadeeth actually developed. Now, এটা হচ্ছে এমন একটা সায়েন্স, it is a finished science, এমন একটা সায়েন্স যেটা well documented and completed as opposed to our belief. আমরা অনেকে মনে করি যে হাদিস সংরক্ষিত হয়নি, অনেকে মনে করি যে হাদিস সম্ভবত লেখা শুরু হয়েছে 300 বছর পরে থেকে, which is wrong. ওই ব্যাপারে পরে আসি। আগে বলি যে উসুল আল হাদিসের শুরু হয় সাহাবাদের মধ্যে থেকে। সাহাবারা যখন ছিলেন তখন তারা এই স্টাডিটা শুরু করেন, কিন্তু তারা লিখিতভাবে কোনো বই লিখে যাননি ওই বিষয়ে। তারা এই জিনিসটা ফলো করতেন, তাবেঈরা ঠিক একইভাবে ফলো করতেন। ইমাম মালিক, ইমাম শাফি, ইমাম আহমেদ ইবনে হাম্বল, আলী ইবনুল মাদানি, দারাকুতনি, দিস স্কলার, এই ধরনের স্কলাররা এরা এই উসুল হাদিসটাকে এস্টাবলিশ করেন, তারা এইটাকে ইউজ করেন এবং এস্টাবলিশ করেন। এরপর প্রথম এই বিষয়ে বই লেখেন হচ্ছে আর-রামা হুরমুজি। এই বিষয়ে প্রথম বই লেখেন সেপারেটলি উসুল আল হাদিস। নাও ইমাম শাফি তার রিসালা যখন লেখেন তার মধ্যে বেশ কয়েকটা চ্যাপ্টার ছিল এটার উপরে বেস করে, কিন্তু টোটালি ডিফারেন্টলি উসুল আল হাদিসের প্রথম বই লেখেন কারণ হুরমুজি। এরপরে আর অনেক স্কলার যেমন আর বেশ কিছু স্কলার তার মধ্যে ছিলেন দারাকুতনি এবং অন্যান্য অনেকে, তারা এই এটার উপরে বেস করে অনেক কিছু লেখেন। আমর ইবনে সালাহ এসে উসুল আল হাদিসের উপর তার একটা কমপ্লিট বই লেখেন, তার নাম ছিল মুকাদ্দিমা। এই মুকাদ্দিমা হচ্ছে সমস্ত উসুল আল হাদিসের বেসিক এন্ড বেসিস। এবং যখন ইবনে হাজার আল আসকালানি আসেন এবং তিনি লেখেন নুবুওয়াতুল ফিকর ফি মুসতালাহিল আহলিল আসার, এই বুক এই টোটাল হাদিসটার স্টাডিকে কমপ্লিট করে দেয়। তো এর বাইরে এখন যদি কেউ এসে বলে যে হাদিসের এই টার্ম মানে হচ্ছে এইটা, ইট ইজ নট অ্যাকসেপ্টেবল। তার কারণ হচ্ছে এটা হচ্ছে একটা ফিনিশড সায়েন্স। যেমন ম্যাথমেটিক্সে 2 + 2 = 4, এভরিওয়ান এগ্রিড টু ইট, দ্য ম্যাথমেটিক্স স্কলার্স। ঠিক সিমিলারলি হাদিসের সমস্ত স্কলাররা হ্যাজ এগ্রিড আপন সাম টার্মিনোলজি, ওইটাকে আমরা বলি মুস্তালাহ, যেটা হচ্ছে মুস্তালাহর মিনিং। এই কারণে তারা সমস্ত টার্মগুলোকে এবং ডিফিনিশনগুলোকে সেট আপ করে দিয়েছেন, এর মধ্যে নতুন কোনো কিছু নতুন ভাবে বলার কোনো অবকাশ নেই। না আমরা হোয়াই আর উই হিয়ার, আমরা এখন কেন এই বিষয়ে কথা বলতেছি তার কিছু রিজন আছে। সেটা হচ্ছে যে রিসেন্টলি লাস্ট ফিউ সেঞ্চুরিজ বেশ কিছু গ্রুপের উদ্ভব হয়েছে, তারা হাদিসকে সরাসরি অস্বীকার করে, দে রিজেক্ট দ্য হাদিস স্ট্রেট অ্যাওয়ে। এর মধ্যে একটা গ্রুপ হচ্ছে পারভেজিস। অ্যাবাউট 100 years ago তারা সাবকন্টিনেন্টে তাদের উদ্ভব হয়, তাদের লিডার ছিল পারভেজ, তার নামে তাদের গ্রুপকে বলা হয় পারভেজি। এরা বলে যে আমরা উই হ্যাভ কোরআন, উই অনলি ফলো দ্যাট ওয়ান, উই ডোন্ট নিড এনিথিং এলস। এবং তারা বলে যে রাসূলুল্লাহ সাল্লাল্লাহু আলাইহি ওয়াসাল্লামকে অনুসরণ করা হচ্ছে শিরক। তো বেসিক্যালি তারা হাদিস অস্বীকার করে এবং তার জন্য এইভাবে ডেভিয়েটেড হয়ে গেছে। উইদাউট এ শ্যাডো অফ ডাউট দিস গ্রুপস হ্যাভ বিন ডিক্লেয়ার্ড কাফির থ্রুআউট দ্য স্কলার্স, বাই অল দ্য স্কলার্স। নাও আপনি যদি তাদের ওয়েবসাইটে যান তাহলে দেখবেন যে তারা শুধুমাত্র কোরআনের উপরে বেস করে উসুল ফেক তৈরি করেছে। তারা নামাজ করেন 3 ওয়াক্ত, 5 ওয়াক্ত নয়, কারণ কোরআনে ডাইরেক্টলি বলা নাই 5 ওয়াক্ত। তারা সূরা হাশর থেকে ওই লিটারাল মিনিং আছে যে তোমরা সকালে নামাজ পড়ো, সন্ধ্যায় নামাজ পড়ো, রাতের কিছু অংশে নামাজ পড়ো। সো দে অনলি প্রে 3 টাইমস। তাদের নামাজ হচ্ছে এই, তারা দাঁড়াবে, সূরা ফাতিহা পড়বে, রুকু করবে, সিজদা করবে, সালাম ফিরাবে, দ্যাটস ইট। কারণ আল্লাহ তাআলা কোরআনে বলেছেন ওয়ারকাউ ওয়াসজুদু, ওখান থেকে তারা লিটারালি মিনিং হয়, তারা সমস্তভাবে হাদিসকে অস্বীকার করে। তাহলে আমরা দেখতে পাচ্ছি যে সামান্য হাদিসকে অস্বীকার করার কারণে মানুষ কিভাবে ডেভিয়েটেড হয়ে যায়। এভরিওয়ান নোজ to pray 5 times a day. Everyone, it has been ijma of the scholars, but still people got deviated because they reject the hadith. Now there are another group who doesn't really directly reject the hadith. তারা সরাসরি অস্বীকার করবে না, কিন্তু তারা বলবে যে we don't know hadith was preserved, আমরা তো জানি না, আর এটা যে আসছে এটার প্রমাণ কি। তারা অজ্ঞতা থেকে কথা বলে, কারণ তারা যদি স্টাডি করতো হাদিসের সংরক্ষণ পদ্ধতি, তারা যদি হাদিস সম্পর্কে স্টাডি করতো তাহলে এই বেসিক ভুল তারা করতো না। আরো অনেকে তারা সুন্নাহকে নতুন ভাবে ডিফাইন করে। ফর এক্সাম্পল, একজন বলে যে সুন্নাহ হচ্ছে এরকম জিনিস যা রাসূলুল্লাহ সাল্লাল্লাহু আলাইহি ওয়াসাল্লামের কাছ থেকে সাহাবীদের মাধ্যমে আমাদের মধ্যে ওয়াইডলি নোন, শুধু সেটা সুন্নাহ, অন্যগুলো সুন্নাহ নয়। ফর এক্সাম্পল, তারা বলতেছে যে যদি একটা সহিহ হাদিস বুখারীতে থাকে বা মুসলিমে থাকে, যদি সহিহ হয়, নট নেসেসারিলি দ্যাট উইল বি সুন্নাহ, কারণ এটা আমাদের মধ্যে ওয়াইডলি নোন না, which is another way to reject the hadith. আমরা আজকে এখানে ইনশাআল্লাহ এই বিষয়ে কিছু আলোকপাত করব। প্রথমে উসুল আল হাদিসের মানে কি। উসুল মানে হচ্ছে ফাউন্ডেশন বা মেথোডোলজি। সো উসুল আল হাদিস মানে হচ্ছে ফাউন্ডেশন এন্ড মেথোডোলজি ইন দ্য স্টাডি অফ হাদিস। হাদিস ইন দিস টপিক, হাদিসের বিভিন্ন মিনিং আছে, তবে ওয়াইডলি আমরা আজকে যেভাবে হাদিসটাকে স্টাডি করব তার মিনিং হচ্ছে এই 4টা জিনিস। রাসূলুল্লাহ সাল্লাল্লাহু আলাইহি ওয়াসাল্লামের কাছ থেকে 4টা জিনিস, রাসূলুল্লাহ সাল্লাল্লাহু আলাইহি ওয়াসাল্লামের ওয়ার্ডস, কওল, তার অ্যাকশন, ফেল, তার ডিসিশনস অথবা সম্মতি, তার তাকরির, and তার সিফাত, অ্যাট্রিবিউটস। These 4 constitutes hadith physically. We'll come into that in detail later on, but since sunnah and hadith এই দুইটা টার্ম আমরা অনেক বেশি ইউজ করব, we'll define this one. And আমার এখানে আমি যতগুলো উসুল হাদিসের উপরে বা হাদিসের উপরে যত টার্মিনোলজি ইউজ করব, যত কিছু বলবো, nothing from me or anyone else, only from the reference book as I mentioned, from Amr ibn Salah's book and Nubuwatul Fikr from Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani and in between. এটা আমার বা কোনো ইভেন রিসেন্ট কোনো স্কলারের কথা নয়, এটা হচ্ছে 700 হিজরি পর্যন্ত যারা এটা কমপ্লিট করেছেন তাদের কথা। সুন্নাহ এবং হাদিস। না, সুন্নাহ ইন জেনারেল এটার মিনিং হচ্ছে পাথ, ওয়ে অফ ডিরেকশন। সানান থেকে এসেছে সুন্নাহ, কিন্তু এই সুন্নাহর আরো অনেক বেশি ওয়াইডলি মিনিং আছে। ফর এক্সাম্পল, যদি আপনি একটা ফিকহি স্কলারকে জিজ্ঞেস করেন যে হি স্কলারস অফ ফিক উইল ডিফাইন সুন্নাহ টু বি সামথিং নট ফরজ অর ওয়াজিব, অর্থাৎ তারা বলবে যে যেটা ফরজ অথবা ওয়াজিব না, তার এক ডিগ্রি নিচে, অর্থাৎ যেটা না করলে আপনি দায়বদ্ধ হবেন না, সেটা হচ্ছে সুন্নাহ। ফর এক্সাম্পল, যোহরের পরে যে 2 রাকাত নামাজ আমরা পড়ি, সুন্নাহ। এই সুন্নাহ মানে হচ্ছে so these 2 rakah after Zuhr, they will call it sunnah. This sunnah is in the term of fiqh, in the perspective of fiqh. We'll have to go back to English, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. This is a definition from the fiqh point of view. Where if we look from the hadith perspective, this is more general and more wider. That actually, as I said in hadith definition, everything of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's sayings, his actions, his approvals, tacit approvals. That means that when someone says or does something in front of him and he didn't object to it, so that is the tacit approvals. And his attributes, like how he looked, how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam ate. So these 4 things constitute sunnah. And these also includes the sunnah of the Sahaba. In fact, Khulafa Rashidin. As Rasulullah said that upon you is my sunnah and the practices of Khulafa Rashidin after me. So this includes, sunnah includes Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's 4 things, practices, and also Khulafa Rashidin's practices. And that is from the hadith perspective. There are other definitions of sunnah. If we look at aqidah perspective, it has a different meaning again. Before that, I'll just explain this. First, for example, someone might say that it was the sunnah of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to pray 5 times a day in the mosque. Now we know that to pray 5 times a day in the mosque is farz. But when they say sunnah, that means it is the practice. It is in the hadith perspective, not in the fiqh perspective. If we go to another definition of sunnah in terms of aqidah, in terms of aqidah, sunnah means the belief. Sunnah means belief. It doesn't say the practices of such and such. It means belief. For example, when we say Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, this sunnah here means the aqidah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his sahabas. So that is the basic meaning of sunnah in the phrase Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. For example, that's why when the big scholars of aqidah wrote books, they used to call it sunnah. For example, Al-Khalal, he wrote a book on aqidah. He named it as-Sunnah. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he wrote his famous book Usool al This is nothing about hadith. This is on aqidah. Yeah, basis, belief. So, as we know that sunnah has different meaning, but throughout this presentation and lecture, we will focus on the hadith perspective, which is more general. That means that sunnah is 4 things of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the practices of Khulafa Rashidin. Now, if we go to the hadith, the literal meaning of hadith is new. It is opposite of qadim. Qadim means old. Hadith means new. But it has other meanings too. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Quran 4-5 different meanings of hadith in Quran itself. As statement, as historical story, as conversation. If we look in Surah Al-Qalam, فَذَرْنِي وَمَا يُكَذِّبُ بِهَذَا الْحَدِيثِ, then leave me alone with those who reject this communication, which means the Quran. So hadith here means Quran. Similarly, in the hadith, when we say فَإِنَّ خَيْرَ الْحَدِيثِ كِتَابُ اللَّهِ, when we start our lecture, we give our sunnati starting, and then we say the hadith that Rasulullah always used to say فَإِنَّ خَيْرَ الْحَدِيثِ كِتَابُ اللَّهِ. So the best form of communication is the book of Allah. So that hadith means Kitabullah. It has other meaning. Hadith means historical story. وَهَلْ أَتَاكَ حَدِيثُ مُوسَى, that means has the story of Musa reached you? So hadith here means historical story. And similarly, there are as general conversation and other meanings as well. In here, in hadith perspective, as we said, hadith will relate to those 4 things as we mentioned before. Now, what is the relationship between sunnah and hadith? Let it put it this way: sunnah is the abstract concept of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam life. So whatever he did and said and approved. The abstract concept of that is sunnah, where physical documentation is hadith. So basically, when you write it down, when you convey it through chains and other things, that is hadith. But sunnah is more abstract. So we can say that sunnah is preserved and contained in hadith. So that is the reason that sunnah cannot be daif or sahih. Sunnah is sunnah. Sunnah cannot be daif or mawdu. But hadith can be, because hadith is a physical documentation. When it is proved that it is related to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then it becomes sunnah. So in general, we can say that when the hadith is classed sahih or acceptable, that we take as sunnah. Now, what is the status of the sunnah in relation to the Quran? So there is another place. This is another place where people get deviated. There are three similar opinions, but different opinions from the scholars of sunnah. One group, they are very limited in numbers. Very few, Imam Shatibi and some few others, they said that sunnah is second to the Quran. So that means that when there is a verse in the Quran and there is a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we will give preference to the verse of the Quran, but we will still take the hadith. This is very few, as I said, that very few said that, and this is not the strongest of opinion. The strongest in terms of authenticity is this view of most of the scholars who said that sunnah is equivalent to Quran. Now, when we are saying this, we are not saying in terms of respect or barakah or anything. No, there is no comparison with Quran and anything. This is only on legal status, ahkam, and in the field of fiqh. So how do we define fiqh on it? So on that basis, legal status, sunnah is equivalent to Quran, and we will inshallah go and prove that. Scholars have stipulated lots of proof that on that one. We don't have time. We'll just quote few ayahs of the Quran and some couple of hadiths on that one. We'll come back to that later on. This actually means that if there is some orders in the Quran and there is some orders in the hadith, we'll take both as same. So that's why most of the scholars define fard and wajib as the same thing. But some scholars, they say fard and wajib is different, which is not the stronger opinion, as I said before. The third group, they say that Quran needs sunnah more than the sunnah needs Quran. They don't say that sunnah is higher in the rank. No, they cannot say that. But what they are saying that if something is in the Quran, you might need to go back to the sunnah for the description of it. For example, Quran say to pray. It doesn't tell you how to pray, how many times to pray, or when to pray, what are the ahkams of it. You have to go back to hadith. So basically hadith describes the Quran. So that's why they say that Quran needs sunnah more than sunnah needs Quran. All these three views are pretty similar. But as I said, the second one is the strongest and has been held by most of the scholars throughout the world in terms of hadith. We'll quickly go to the proof of sunnah's legal status. In the Quran, there are more than 70 verses that actually stipulated this fact, that sunnah is equivalent to Quran in the legal status. Scholars have defined 7 different categories. One of them is Quran, one of them is sunnah. There are other categories. I will not go to that one. I'll go into the Quran and I'll mention a few of them. In Surah Najm, verse 3 to 4, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. He doesn't speak from his desires. He doesn't say anything from himself. Indeed, what he says is revelation. So, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam doesn't say anything from him. And we all know that hadith is another form of wahi. It's called Ghair Matlu Wahi. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam doesn't say anything from him. And there in Surah Al-Azhab, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةً حَسَنَةً. Surely there is for all of you a good example in the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That actually indicates that we have to follow Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In verse 59 of Surah Nisa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, أَتِيُوا اللَّهَ وَأَتِيُوا الرَّسُولَ وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ. And then he goes to say that if there is any differences of opinion among you, then go back to Allah and His Messenger. If you believe on Allah and the day of judgment. So that is another example, that you have to go back to Quran and Sunnah, not Quran and then Sunnah, Quran and Sunnah. In other parts of, in lots of verses in Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, when He sent messengers, more than 100,000 messengers, in a narration, even though that's weak, that lots of prophets that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent, and all of them had the similar sort of goal. If you go to Surah Shu'ara, every prophet, there have been mentioned about 8-9 prophets, every prophet has been mentioned, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to tell him that, He says, Fattakullaha wa ati'uni. Every 10-15 verses, a new prophet is mentioned, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that they say, Fattakullaha, obey Allah, fear Allah, have taqwa of Allah, and wa ati'uni, and follow me, obey me, fear Allah and obey me. Every prophet says. So this is the basic message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He has sent messengers to follow them. And then, if we cut it short, there are a couple of verses. Surah Nisa, verse 80, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "May yuti'il rasula faqad ata Allah." Whoever has obeyed the messenger, whoever has obeyed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he has indeed obeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if we obey Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that means we are obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that actually also clarifies the fact. And also in Surah Hashr, that whatever the messenger has given you, take, and whatever he has forbidden you, refrain from. So clear. I'll finish up with one verse. This is the most explicit verse in the Quran, and it is actually basis of a lot of ahkam and faith issues. So verse 65 of Surah Nisa. فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ حَتَّى يُحَكِّمُكَ فِيمَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ. فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ, nay, by your Lord, لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ, you won't have iman. We won't have iman until حَتَّى يُحَكِّمُكَ فِيمَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ, until you make Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam your judge between all the disputing matters. See, if we don't make Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam the judge between all our disputing matter, we won't have iman. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is negating iman. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Summa la yajidu fi anfusihim harajan mimma qadaita wa yusallimu taslima." And then find within themselves no discomfort to accept that judgment from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For example, if we go to a judge, a court, and the court decides against me, I will not be very happy. Maybe I'll have something, I might have been hard done by. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, if you have that sort of feeling in terms of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam judging on some matter, you won't have iman. So this is that important. Now if we go to preservation of hadith, a lot of people, as I said, that a lot of people think that hadith hasn't been preserved. That is totally wrong, because both Quran and Sunnah has been preserved and it has been proven. I'll come into inshallah that one. A lot of people also say that hadith was not written down during the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's time. That is also wrong. Initially, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam forbade writing hadith, but then he allowed it, and there are plenty of narrations, Sahih narrations on that one. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, Ibn Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhu, they all wrote down hadiths, and we'll show some of the ciphers of that. So there is a list. I will not go through this. These are all the Sahabas that during their time, their students has written down hadith. For example, Abu Hurairah had 9 of his students who recorded hadith during Abu Hurairah's time, and all of their records were present when Bukhari, Muslim came in, and then they took from the ciphers. So there are I have only mentioned whoever has narrated more than 500 hadith, only mentioned those names here. One interesting example is the Sahifa of Hammam ibn Munabbi. Hammam ibn Munabbi, he was the student of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. Now, he died on 110 Hijri, and he had a Sahifa. He wrote down from Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, and it had 110 hadith in it. The interesting thing is, all these 110 hadiths were mentioned in Bukhari. They were recorded in Muslim. That's all right. But recently, one of the scholars in 1920 to 1930, his name was Muhammad Hamidullah, recent scholar. He found the whole Sahifa of Hammam ibn Munabbi in a museum in France, and then they realized that this Sahifa was actually from Hammam ibn Munabbi. It was written in 55 to 56 Hijrah, that time. So that actually proves the fact that it was written, hadith was written during the Sahaba's time as well. Now, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal has put all these 110 hadiths in his Musnad Ahmad, and one by one, right, in the same order. So what he took is he took all these hadiths and put into his Musnad Ahmad. So that actually said that how hadith was preserved. We can say that we can see how it was preserved, and it's that every single of them in the same order was mentioned in the big books of hadith. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Hijr, Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafidhun. Indeed, I have revealed the reminder, the zikr, and I will indeed protect it. Most of the scholars say zikr means here is Quran and Sunnah. Most of the scholars. Zikr means Quran and Sunnah. Now, there's another word, hikmah. We all know about hikmah. This word has been mentioned in the Quran 20 times. 10 times it has been mentioned straight after the word kitab. Where kitab means Quran and hikmah means Sunnah, according to most of the scholars. Imam Shafi'i said, al-hikmatu hiya as-sunnah. Hikmah here means Sunnah. You can see some of the verses, I have put it in there. Now, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's hadith actually proves that. In a hadith, class Sahih Abu Dawud, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that beware, I have been given the Quran and something like it. The Arabic word is mislaha, which is something like it. So, and then he said that yet the time is coming when a man reflect on his couch and say that we'll only keep to the Quran, we don't follow anything. So, in another hadith, Rasulullah said that soon there will be time that people will recline on his couch and say that we have the Quran and will not take anything else. And Rasulullah actually is saying them that be aware, whatever Rasulullah has made unlawful, haram, as if Allah has made it haram. And there are other hadiths. Rasulullah said that whatever Rasulullah gives you, makes halal, as if Allah has made it halal. Whatever Rasulullah makes it haram, as if Allah has made it haram. Now, another hadith which has been recorded in all of the hadith collections. There are hundreds of hadith collections, first-hand hadith collections. In all of the collections, there is a hadith, particular hadith. It has been mentioned in every one of these books, and it has the most number of chains. This is the hadith about of lying about Rasulullah. Whoever tells a lie against me intentionally, then surely let him occupy his seat in the Jahannam. This is the hadith. It has made its way to every collection. And what is the reason for that? So this is a grave, this is a very strong warning, so that you don't go and fabricate hadith. You don't go and say something that you don't know that it is proven as hadith. There are other hadiths where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that if someone tells something that I haven't said, he is one of the two liars. One liar who has created it, and one liar is who is conveying it. So we have to be very careful when we narrate a hadith. We have seen people just go and say hadith without knowing if it's sahih or not. If it has been, what is the classification of it? They just hear from somewhere and just say it. If you don't know, or if you saying something what Rasulullah didn't say, you are actually making, in fact, your seat in the Jahannam. In our subcontinent, when we used to read Islam, out of 10 hadiths we studied, actually 6 of them were Zaif or Mawdu. It is an unfortunate thing that we didn't study hadith properly in our childhood. That's how we got deviated more For example, there are hadith you will see that if you want to gain knowledge, go even to China. There is no basis of it. This is not a hadith at all. There is no isnad of it. This hasn't been mentioned in any of the hadith collections. Some scholars have said it, people have put it as a hadith. There are other hadiths like the sleep of an alim is better than the ibadah of an abid. Absurd. This is not a hadith either. This is a munkar hadith. There is no hadith like that. Similarly, they'll say that in the day of judgment. No, okay, yes, because I'll say in Bengali as well. আমাদের দেশে আমরা বহু হাদিস জানি, যেমন বিদ্যা শিক্ষার জন্য, জ্ঞান অর্জনের জন্য শুধু চীন দেশে গমন করো মানুষ বলে থাকে। এটা কোনো ভিত্তি নাই হাদিসের, ভিত্তিহীন হাদিস। অনেকে বলে থাকে আরশ রহমান কালবুল মুমিন, মিন্স দ্যাট আল্লাহর আরশ হচ্ছে প্রতি মুমিনের অন্তরে। কোনো বেস নাই, এটার বেস নাই। আল্লাহ ইজ আরশের উপরে এবং উপরে, ইজ নট এভরিওয়্যার। এগুলো সব বেস করা হচ্ছে জাল এবং যায়েফ হাদিসের উপর বেস করে। সিমিলারলি তারা অনেকে বলে থাকে যে কিয়ামতের দিন জ্ঞানীর কলমের কালি আর শহীদের রক্ত দুই পাল্লায় ওজন দেওয়া হবে, জ্ঞানীর কলমের কালি ভারী হবে শহীদের রক্তের চেয়ে। What an absurd statement. They just degrade the efforts of Sahaba, Shaheeds by that one. There is no such hadith like that. Imam Bukhari came in and stipulated this particular statement and said that this is munkar, batil as hadith. So আমরা অধিকাংশ সময় যা পড়ি দেখা যায় যে অধিকাংশ সময় 10টা হাদিস পড়লে দেখা যায় 6টা হাদিস তার মধ্যে পড়ি যেটা কিনা সহি নয়। We have to be very careful, and when we narrate hadith we have to make sure that we know that it has come through an authentic chain. Now we'll go to Usool al hadeeth. What is Usool al hadeeth? It is basically a study of two things, matan and sanad. In here also a lot of people go astray. What they do, they say that Usool al hadeeth on the basis of hadith is only based on isnad. This is totally wrong, because if anyone has a basic knowledge of Usool al hadeeth, they will know that this is wrong. Hadith, to be sahih, it has 5 conditions, and 5 of these conditions, out of these 5 conditions, 3 are based on isnad, sanad, and 2 is based on the matan, the text of it. So hadith basically has 2 parts, as I said. One is the chain of narration, who Al-Fulanun said this and someone said that, and he said from him, he narrated from him such and such, and then what is the actual text of the hadith. I will just show you the famous hadith of Umar radiallahu anhu, when he narrated from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that innamal a'malu binniyat. Everyone knows that. It is the most one of the most famous hadith. If we look at the hadith, it actually is like this. Al-Bukhari mentioned the narrator from Al-Humaydi, and then he narrated from Sufyan, he narrated from Yahya ibn Sa'd, he narrated from Muhammad ibn Ibrahim, and then he narrated from Al-Qama ibn Waqas, he narrated from Umar ibn Khattab, because we don't have the sound, so I'm just telling what there is said. And then Umar radiallahu anhu said that while he was on the mimbar, he said that I had Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. Now up to this bit, that is the chain, that is the isnad of it, and the rest part, innamal a'malu binniyat, the reward of deeds depends on the intention and such and such. These are the matan, they are the text of the hadith, and both constitute hadith. And to determine if the hadith is sahih or zaif or mawdu, we actually study both the text and the isnad. Quickly I'll go to the terminologies of hadith. Mustalah al hadith, it means, as I said, mustalah means agreement between the persons who are who it refers to. For example, if me and one of the brother have agreed on some particular things, that will be called mustalah between you. Mustalah baina this rajulan. So basically what it means that if mathematicians agree on such and such fundamentals, that 2 plus 2 equals 4, and that becomes mustalah in the science of mathematics. Similarly in hadith, these terminologies have been agreed upon throughout the muhaddithin, and that's why they are called mustalah al hadith, and this terminology will go quickly, one by we'll probably try to cover as much as we can, depending on the time. Now, I have put a chart where we'll see that hadith basically can be divided into two sides. One is maqbul, which means accepted. The other is rejected, matruk. In general, when we say sahih, the hadith is sahih hadith. In general means accepted bit. It can have either sahih or hasan. It has two parts. Sahih has two parts as well. Sahih li ghairihi and sahih li zatihi and sahih li ghairihi. The other part, hasan, also same two parts. Hasan li zatihi, hasan li ghairihi. Quickly go to this one, otherwise people might get confused. Sahih li zatihi means a hadith which is sahih on its own merit. Where sahih li ghairihi means that the hadith was initially hasan level, but there are so many other narrations that it actually has strengthened the power, because 15 people say the same thing, so you have got more power, more trustability on 15 people rather than one. So then it actually elevates this and it goes to this level. All these four categories, they are sahih. We accept them. Anything less than that, we don't accept. We call them in general zaif or matruk. Zaif has two main categories. One is zaif, one is mawdu. I'll go to the zaif bit. Mawdu bit. Mawdu means batil, munkar. There has lots of other names. Mawdu means it is nowhere near in contention of a hadith at all. So, and zaif has few other categories in it. It could be called generally as zaif. It could have zaif ziddan, which is very weak. Zaif means weak. Zaif ziddan means very weak. Mursal, it could have munkati and muallaq, such and such. We'll go into them inshallah as well. We'll come back to that conditions of hadith. There are 5 conditions, as I said. For a hadith to be sahih, there are 5 conditions. Ittisal al-sanad, adala, dat, ghayr shaz, la illa. I'll go into one by one. Ittisal al-sanad means, you know the chain we have mentioned? That means that all the chains are connected. So, as I heard from someone, he heard from someone, and they heard from someone, and they actually all have been met with each other and heard from, and that has been established, the fact. So then it becomes muttasil. That means it is alright. The chain is alright. If it is cut somewhere, then it will go on. In general, we'll call it munkati. Inkita means to cut. So munkati means which has been cut. For example, I'll give you one example. There is a hadith people mention in Muwatta Imam Malik about Tarawih. Now, the hadith says, Imam Malik narrated from Yazid ibn Ruman. He narrated that Umar ibn al-Khattab has ordered Ubay ibn Ka'b and others to pray 20 rakah of Tarawih in the mosque. So that is the hadith usually mentioned, and people base their reasoning on that one. Some people. Problem is that hadith is not sahih. The reason is Yazid ibn Ruman didn't get Umar radiallahu anhu's time. So when Umar radiallahu anhu died, after long, Yazid ibn Ruman born. So must be there someone inside, and we don't know who it is. So if we don't know who it is not qualified as muttasil. We call them muallaq hadith because the cut is not in the sahabi level. But if the cut is on the sahabi level, we call it mursal. For example, if a tabi narrates directly from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there must be a sahabi in between. We don't know, or it could be another tabi. We don't know either. So that would be a mursal hadith. Mursal hadith, in some cases, it could be sahih if there are other chains that it says that this person only narrates from trustworthy person. But it will be more technical. I will not go into that one. Mu'dal is when there are more than one chains are cut, and mudallas when it's even more. If we have questions, I'll probably ask them. I'll probably answer them if you want to know more. So that was the first condition. That means the chain has to be perfect. The second condition is the adalah of the rawi. Whoever is narrating the hadith, his characteristics, his trustability is checked. And there are conditions of adala here. As you can see, that if he has got fabrication, he has done fabrication before, or his fasik, he is jahil, he does bida. These sort of categories are there. If they find one of these problems in the Rabi, they don't accept their hadith. Now, if the Rabi is not a liar, but he does some sins, little sins, like হয়তো দেখা গেল যে সে চুরি করে অথবা অশ্লীলতার দিকে যায় কিন্তু মিথ্যা বলে না, he doesn't lie, then his hadith will be daif, weak. কিন্তু সে যদি কিন্তু সে যদি মিথ্যা বলে, if he is a liar, অথবা একবার কোথাও মিথ্যা বলেছে, then his hadith will be mawdu, batil, because they wouldn't accept anyone's statement who is a liar, because he could lie. There is a possibility of it. They don't want to take that risk. That is it. Then if someone does kabira guna, then but he doesn't lie, so in that case it will be very weak, but not mawdu. If people doesn't lie, then it will not go to mawdu. It will stay in the daif category. As I said, that for adala, to check adala, there are conditions people have said. Ibn Hajar Asqalani has said conditions, and it has been widely accepted on. I will not go into details in that one. The third condition for a hadith to be sahih is to have dabt. Dabt means memorization power. Because a person could be very good. একজন মানুষ খুব ভালো হতে পারে, খুব চমৎকার, খুব ইখলাসের সাথে কাজ করে, but he has got problems in his memory. He cannot remember something, so he cannot really accept his statement because he could make mistakes. So this is actually taken into account in a separate criteria, which is dabt. Now, if someone has a memorization power like Imam Bukhari or Ali ibn al-Madani, Ishaq ibn Rawai, these people, they are well known for their knowledge, for their memorization power. For example, they would hear something today, 10 years later they would say the exact same thing without a letter to be changed. So these people has that higher class in this category. If they narrate a hadith and everything else is right, their hadith will be sahih. There are other people who might not have that extreme memory, but still very good memory. If you say something to them, in a few years' time, they will probably say, tell you back the similar sort of thing. Maybe a letter here or there would be different, or occasionally they might forget something. But usually they are very good in memory. If this person narrated hadith, that will be Hasan. So remember, this is the only difference between a Sahih hadith and a Hasan hadith. There is no other difference. When we say Hasan, that means the Rabi who has narrated the hadith absolutely fine in his akhlaq, character. Every chain is fine. Shaz, illa is not there. But his memory is not as good as the top level. But his memory is still good. So that is Hasan. If someone has a weaker memory, he forgets more often. He says something today and then 5 years later he forgets that one. So these people's hadith will be called daif. They will be not accepted. If they forget very much, very easily, then their hadith will be daif as itam. But their hadith will never be reached as mawdu because they are not a liar, as I said. These are the conditions of dabt, as the scholars has set out. Now the last two categories, these are more complicated. They deal with matan, the text of the hadith. First one is gair shaj. You can't have shaj. Shaj means when it contradicts a stronger narration. For example, I'll give you an example. That I met a person and he is very trustworthy. Yes, all right. He has quite good, at least Hasan level sort of thing. That he is good. I trust him. He said that such and such, say for example Abdul Khalik, he got an accident and he is in the hospital. And I will trust him, okay, because he is a trustworthy person to me. Now I go along, Abdul Khalik's brother comes in and he said, no, Abdul Khalik is absolutely fine, I just dropped him at home. Now we'll change our initial opinion because his brother, Abdul Khalik's brother, has more possibility to know, and if he says that he has dropped his brother, and if I trust Abdul Khalik's brother very much, then I would take his statement. So that's how it works. When there is a hadith, at least Hasan level in the isnad, but it contradicts stronger hadith or Quran, in the text, that will be da'if. We have a special name for it, we call it shaz. The hadith is shaz. So that means that hadith will not accept it for our ahkam or everything else. So as you can see that people, scholars actually take the matan into account when they treat hadith. Last one is illah. This is the most complicated one. Illah means hidden defect. Now, hidden defect is something which might not be understood by a normal student of hadith who has been studying hadith for 10-15 years. They might not be able to identify that one. But the extreme scholars like Bukhari, Muslim, Daraqutni, they would come and they will pick it up because they have that much of knowledge in hadith. I'll give you another example. Imam Malik's sheikh was Ibn Shihab az-Zuhri. Imam Malik would narrate from Ibn Shihab az-Zuhri. Ibn Shihab az-Zuhri had few students. One of them was Hisham. Now, when Ibn Shihab az-Zuhri said hadith, narrated hadith, a lot of his students would memorize them. Hisham would write them down. Hisham would not memorize them, rather he would write the hadith down. So he would write the isnad here, he would write the matan here. What happened once is he was going to his house, wind came, and then all his paper got scattered. And somehow the isnad, one of the isnad got mixed up with another matan. So when this hadith was presented to Imam Bukhari, he said that, oh, this particular hadith has been never mentioned in such and such and such narration. Rather, it has been mentioned in such and such narration. And he also gave the reason that probably there isnad and matan has got mixed up. So normally when people will go through the chain will be fine, at least Hasan. Matan is fine. But scholars like Bukhari would pick out that there is hidden defect in it, and that is called illah. And that is one of the reasons that Imam Bukhari would never narrate hadith from Hisham when he narrated from Ibn Shihab az-Zuhri. Imam Bukhari will narrate hadith from Ibn Shihab az-Zuhri, he will narrate from Hisham. But when Hisham narrated from Ibn Shihab az-Zuhri, Bukhari will not mention it, because there is the slightest chance that hadith could be on those where it fall out. So that is one of the reasons that Bukhari, Sahih al-Bukhari has been given preference over every other book, including Muslim. Muslim is better in organization, but in authenticity, Sahih Bukhari is the top. And every hadith in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim are authentic without a shadow of doubt. That is, there are a few scholars recently, like Al-Hakim an-Nisapuri and Daraqutni, they have questioned some of the hadiths and some of the rawi, but they were not right in that one, because later on Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani came in, wrote his Fathul Bari, Sharh Bukhari, and he has mentioned everything, every detail of it, and proven that each hadith of Bukhari and Muslim is Sahih without a shadow of doubt. If there is any question about that one, I will probably clarify that later on. So we know, so that is one part of illah. Illah has lots of other 12, 13 different categories, criteria. I have just mentioned one. So these 5 conditions actually constitute the basis of hadith, it to be sahih or not. Now the scholars, including Imam an-Nawawi, they have categorized even the sahih hadiths. There are all the sahih hadiths they took, and they even categorized on that one. For lay person like us, we don't really need to go to that far, but just to show that how precisely they have studied and they have stipulated this. When the hadith is mentioned both in Bukhari and Muslim, that is the strongest of the Sahih. When Bukhari narrated it but Muslim didn't, that is number 2. When Muslim narrated it but Bukhari didn't, it would be number 3. And when they didn't narrate either, but the hadith meets the conditions of both of them, because Bukhari had said themselves stronger condition than other 5. We have narrated 5 conditions, Bukhari had put 3 more conditions on it. Muslim has put another couple of conditions on top of 5. So they had different conditions of themselves to even make it more sahih. So that's why if the hadith is not mentioned in Bukhari or Muslim but meet the standard, they have categorized something like that one. Okay, we'll go to the next bit. We'll talk about a little bit about mutawatir and ahad hadith. This is, remember, this knowledge is not really important to us. As a layperson, we don't really need to go more. But the scholars have set it up because of scholarly benefit. Mutawatir is a hadith which has been narrated on more chains, so many isnad, that these people cannot really, gather themselves on a line. So possibly someone is in Syria, someone is in Iraq, someone is in Makkah, okay, and they narrated in so many different chains. It's impossible for them to lie and to agree on that one. So mutawatir, without a shadow of doubt, is a sahih hadith. Now there are other categories like hadith ahad. We call them khabar wahid or ahad. It has three parts: mashhur, aziz, gharib. Mashhur hadith is when the hadith has all the chains, at least three. In each level, you have at least three narrators. So at least three persons narrated from each level. Then it will be mashhur. There is no upper bit. It can go 10, 15, 20, but it is not as huge as mutawatir. So that will be mashhur. Mashhur hadith could be zaif, could be sahih, depending on the five conditions we have said before. Similarly, with aziz, one of the chain, if it is two ravis, then it will be aziz. And gharib is similarly, if there is only one ravi in one of the isnad, it will be gharib. Doesn't really mean anything, because if the hadith is meets the condition of that five condition, that will be sahih. If it doesn't, then it will not be sahih. For example, the hadith we have just showed you, innamal a'malu binniyah. That is gharib mutlaq, because it has been narrated only by one sahabi, Umar radiallahu anhu. One ravi in one of the chains. So that hadith is gharib, but it is still sahih. So if hadith is ahad, it doesn't mean that we reject that one. But there are groups of people, they have taken this opportunity and reject ahad hadith. And then the reason is, if you reject the ahad hadith, you actually reject 80% of Islam, because most of them are ahad hadith. And to benefit their view, they have got some opinions, and to justify them, they would not accept the ahad hadith, because if they accept ahad hadith, their theories will go away. So that is one of the reasons they do it, and we have to be very careful from them. There are other terms like marfu, mawquf, maktub, and hadith al-Qudsi. Hadith al-Qudsi, when the hadith is related to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we call it hadith al-Qudsi. When the hadith reaches to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we call it marfu. When the hadith reaches up to the sahabis, say for example, sahabi said that Ali radiallahu anhu said such and such, it didn't reach to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it reaches to this level, mawquf. We'll still take that for some of the ahkams, because we take the practices of the sahabas. If the hadith only reaches to the tabi'i part, we call it maktub. Anyway, now this is another study which has been finished. There is no benefit for us to go into this one. The reason I have put it in there, because a lot of people take chances, they take advantage, and then manipulate people on this. There is no such recorded hadith. Two recorded sahih hadith goes against each other. Mukhtalaf al hadith means when there are ikhtilaf between hadiths. If there is no recorded sahih hadith that goes one against each other. No, because everything has been already taken care of. Scholars take the first step, which is jama'ah. They take this methodology and see if they can jama the hadith. That means that both the hadith could stay. For example, one particular hadith says about generalization and one am, while other hadith says about specific things like khas. I'll give you an example. In general terms, it says that after Asr and after Fajr there is no nafil salah, for example. So that is more general. There are other hadith comes, when you reach the mosque, don't sit without praying 2 rak'ah. Now if some person comes after Asr, what will he do? Because basically there is no ikhtilaf, because scholars has identified that the first part was more general. It's general. If you have a nafal, you don't pray it because it has been forbidden. But if it is muakkada, like don't sit without praying 2 rakah, that is specific. So that's how they do jama. Next one is tarji, when they give preference one over other on stronger opinions. And last one is nask. This is the last bit that they mansukh one hadith. For example, if some hadith was given before, some advice or some order, later on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said opposite of things which actually mansukh the other one. And scholars has gone through all of them and they have stipulated. Whenever you go to Bukhari or Muslim, you would find if there is a hadith has been mansukh, he has mentioned it as well. So there is no chance for us to get deviated and say that, oh, that is mansukh. This is a very favorite weapon for some people. If they don't like a hadith, they say no, it has been mansukh, without any knowledge. Who says that? If it is a mansukh, then all the scholars would have said that and it has been mentioned and everything is recorded. So there is literally for us, there is no chance that we get deviated if we follow the proper books. Lastly, I will go through some of the hadith collections quickly. In time, throughout the time, there are different types of hadith. For example, musnad, muwatta, sahih, sunan, jami, mawjam, mustadrak, musannaf. This sort of hadith, they put them, they categorize it because hadith, people has collected 30,000, 40,000 hadith. How do you organize them? So this is only on the basis of organization, except for this one. All of them have categorized themselves on the basis of their organization. Because, for example, Musnad, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal has put only all the hadith on the basis of sanad. Whoever the sahabis says this, such and then come to next sahabis. Later on, Jame came in when they have categorized the hadith on the basis of fiqh, but include everything. That's what called Jame, from Jama. So they put every sort of hadith, fiqh hadith, aqidah hadith, tafsir in it, everything. Bukhari, Muslim and Tirmizi are called Jame. Bukhari is called Jame Sahih. Tirmizi is called Jame Tirmizi, but it is actually on that category, Sunan, because Sunan only have fiqh issues, they don't include tafsir or anything. I'll quickly go to the other one, but it will be probably easier. We have got these two Sahih, they are called Sahihain, Bukhari and Muslim. I put down the date they died on the bracket. These two are the Sahihain. There are other 4. Nasai, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah. I have put down in the order of authenticity. This is the most authentic out of these 4, and then this, and this. These books, altogether, they are called Sunan Arba'in. Sunan Arba'in. There are 4 Sunans. These 6, altogether, they are called Kutub Sitta. 6 books. Now, we make a big mistake when we say Siha Sitta. That is actually not right. Scholars of hadith has refuted that because all these hadiths, all of the hadiths from here are not sahih. There are Zaif hadiths, Mawdu hadiths in these ones. All of them are not sahih, so it's not alright to call them Siha Sitta. That is the terminology we picked up in our subcontinent, and it originated from there. And then there are other books, Sunan al-Bayhaqi, Darimi, Daraqutni, and then we have got Muwatta Imam Malik. Now, Muwatta Imam Malik has more Sahih hadith than any of this, but it is not as big as this. That's why they are not included in this Kutub Sitta, where some scholars say that it should be there instead of Ibn Majah, but it's not huge, so that's why scholars didn't put it. And there is another reason why these books are called 6 books. I will come into that later. When Imam Bukhari wrote his Sahih, he actually was the first person to only focus on Sahih Hadith. He set up a condition that I will only record Sahih Hadith, nothing else. So he wrote the Sahih Bukhari, and then Muslim wrote his Sahih Muslim. There are other 2 scholars who wrote 2 Sahih books called Sahih Ibn Khuzaimah, Sahih Ibn Hibban, Ibn Khuzaimah and Ibn Hibban. They wrote is at Sahih, but not all of them are Sahih, because their condition, one of the conditions were weak. They used to take a Rabbi who was unknown, and they were okay with him. But later on, the scholars said that is not right. Because if you don't know about a person, you don't take his hadith, because he could be a fabricator. So that is the reason not all of the hadiths in these books are sahih. So basically these hadiths, apart from these two, any of them doesn't have real authority over each other. One hadith in here could be zaif, one hadith in here could be sahih. Similarly, vice versa, one hadith in here could be sahih, could be zaif. But scholars has actually identified all the sahih hadiths, as you know, and they have been mentioned. The problem is when we translate our books and we read our books, we don't translate the hukum of the hadith. For example, when I had in Bangladesh, I was going through and the hadith was written, but as you know that Imam Tirmidhi did put down his own hukum of the hadith there. If the hadith is sahih, he wrote sahih. If it is hasan, he would say hasan. If it is zaif, he would say zaif. If you do not translate those sort of thing, people would get confused. That's how it happened in our country. And also, there are negligency for people to go back to the principal source books. Rather, they would go to books like Mishkat al-Masabi, which is a very good book, but there are plenty of zaif hadith. In Mishkat itself, there are 1900 zaif hadith in Mishkat itself. But when they translate it, they don't translate the hukums of it. However, Imam Albani has, Sheikh Albani has actually did his work on Mishkat. He has actually divided Sahih, Mishkat and Zaif, so that it's easier for us to go and see which one is Sahih or not. I'll quickly go to this particular collection. This is not a collection like them. It's called Mawjam al-Mutaharas. There is a history to it. This book is one of the largest collection of hadith books. It has about 40,000 hadiths. And if you are a student of hadith, you have to rely on this book, because it actually categorizes and organizes hadith by word. So for example, if someone doesn't know Arabic well, or someone is not well acquainted with Usool al hadeeth, they know only one word. Say innamal a'malu binniyat. You know about amal. You go and find it out from there. It is that easy. The funny thing is, this particular book was written by the kuffar. In 1930s they started it. 1965 they finished it. 35 years it took them to compile this hadith. They did it to refute Islam. They had their scholar who would fight against Islam, so they needed to know what is in the hadith, because they are not scholars in hadith. So they funded this and they created this. Subhanallah, Allah has turned the table on them. One of the scholars they appointed to check, and then he took all of them, because this was hidden material, all of them copies and flew to Syria and then printed it. And this book is now used for the hadith students to their benefit. It's very easy for a student of hadith to go and find a hadith. So initially they wanted to refute Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has turned that, and now Muslims are the most beneficiary of this book. So that is another sign that how it has been preserved. Lastly, Rijal, the study of Rijal. All this we know about the Rabi of the hadith. How do we know it? On this study, because of this study, Rijal. Scholars has written down everything about all the Rabi, nearly all the Rabi who has narrated hadith. Each one of them has been mentioned. When he died, when he born, which cities he has been visited, so that they know that this person actually has met and had hadith from them, or how he was, what was his akhlaq, what was his that level. There are plenty of works on it, over 90 works, over 90 Rijal. Lots of scholars has put down their books. Imam Bukhari wrote Tarikh al-Kabir, it's a big book, only contain names of everyone who have narrated hadith. Every one of them has been mentioned in this book. There are other books as well. Just I'll mention one because it is important. Al-Kamal. Wahid al-Ghani al-Maqdisi, he was a compatriot of Ibn Taymiyyah. He wrote the book Al-Kamal. This book actually mentions all the names of the Rabi, their characters, everything, where they went in detail, and that actually only focuses on the 6 books. So that is the reason we call the 6 books. We call Kutub Sitta, Bukhari, Muslim, Nasai, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah. We call these 6 books because of Al-Kamal, because it is easy to find the Rabi from there. If you go to a hadith in Ahmad ibn Hanbal's Musnad, you might not find that Rabi in here. And it might not be found because about 95% of the Rabis, every character has been found, but their name is there in Tariq al-Kabir. But these 6 books, all of the Rabis are mentioned in here, and this is huge. I don't know how many volumes of this is there. Later on, Al-Mizzi came in and condensed that book into 37 volumes of Tahzib al-Kamal. What he did is he mentioned all of them, but just shortened the descriptions so that it's easier for us to go through 37 books. Remember, just imagine 37 these books you have to go through and find out. Still, it's too much. Then Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani came and he wrote Tahzib al-Kamal. This was in 6 volumes, and then it was even too big for the students, so he came back again, wrote Taqrib al-Tahzib al-Kamal fi Asma al-Rijal. So that book is only one part, and it has all the Rabis, but only 2 lines to it. Every Rabi has 2 lines, that he is such and he died on that one, he is Thika or not, his Adala was right or not. So that now for us, for a student of Hadith, we go and look at Taqrib al-Tahzib al-Tahzib and find out, okay, that is Sahih, that Rabi is alright, so that we know. Because of this Kamal, as I said, that 6 books are 6 books. There are no other benefit for the 6 books over other books, as I mentioned. And this is the process. I will not go through this one. I'll just quickly go through. So this is the Rabi's classes. The Rabi would be this class, this class, this class, and what are their Adala level, and then they go and find out and they follow these steps when they clarify the hadith, and then they go to. This is a screenshot of Taqrib al-Tahzib al-Tahzib, as I mentioned the last book. So every Rabi has a couple of lines to it. So if this Shihab ibn Firaish, his Suduq Yaqti, this level. So that's how it has been made it easy for us. Anyway, I'll not go into that detail in that one because it's already a long time. May Allah forgive us for all of our sins. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us on the straight path, Sirat al-Mustaqim. May Allah give us guidance and give us strength to be on the right path. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا اغفر لنا ولوالدينا والمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. If there is any questions, you can.